if we can really optimize the muscle, the brain, and the heart, those three things, that's where we see we can make the biggest changes and impact in longevity. If your mitochondria aren't functioning optimally, then man, you're going to have some serious issues. With nitric oxide and you boost mitochondria, that's where you can get the energy levels of the cell really amped up, and we're working a lot more function, get blood flow and get movement more. Daily walk after meals, that can be, if you're not doing that now, that is such a good challenge. It's such a great way to help your body just digest and utilize its food and nutrition really effectively. Welcome everybody to the show, and really excited to have everyone here. Last week, I know if you joined or attempted to join us live, I think we had to cancel it last minute. There was some flight delays and things with Reagan and I, and so thanks for your patience. And I'm really excited you're here this week. We're going to be diving into some really cool insights on cardio and metabolic health. And so we'll dive in there. But before we jump in, just want to hear from you. How's things going? If you're joining us live, type into the chat box for me just what's been going on, how your challenge was the last 2 weeks ago. Yeah, let us know how things have been going. And yeah, it looks like we got some awesome people. Maybe type in the chat box where you're joining us from. If you're in some other part of the world, I am in Salt Lake today. I'm at the Ageless Future clinic, and yeah, some cool insights. We are going to be moving towards Ageless Future branding and everything from a clinic perspective here very soon. And so you may start to see the signs change in the office and some new things there. We're really excited about the new direction of our brand and everything. And so this little, wow, I can't even point, little tree behind me, maybe taking a kind of a shift there. So I'm excited. When you're here in the office, you can tell us what you think about it. All right. Well, we're going to dive in. So today's topic, I'll share my screen for everyone. And today's topic is cardiometabolic flow. So reset your blood vessels, heart, and insulin sensitivity. So we'll dive in. We have three main organs that we really, there's so many different systems in the body, but if we can really optimize the muscle, the brain, and the heart, those three things, that's where we see we can make the biggest changes and impact in longevity. And so today we're going to be focused on some of the components of the heart and your vascular system. So, big picture, why this really matters. Heart disease as well as type 2 diabetes, they share very similar root causes. Insulin resistance leads to diabetes, typically leads to heart disease. They're very intertwined. Endothelial dysfunction, that's your vessels and vascular system dysfunctioning. That's a big issue with heart disease, obviously, as well as type 2 diabetes, and then just chronic inflammation. We see that very consistently. And so, I want to go through these. And so, we want to look at it through a flow first lens. So, let's improve that blood flow, circulation, and the way you do that, improving nitric oxide. You can improve nitric oxide obviously through exercise, the right diet, nutrition. Smoking, not going to increase nitric oxide. So, not smoking I would almost say that's neutral, but it's not. Yeah, it's definitely want to, no smoking is definitely going to help with those numbers. And then as far as let's so nitric oxide improving microvascular or perfusion, improving your mitochondrial efficiency. So what that's going to help with better blood pressure, your lipid profile, and your glycemic index as well. So if your mitochondria aren't functioning optimally, then man, you're going to have some serious issues. And just so if you're wondering what the term microvascular perfusion, that refers to the flow of blood through the smallest blood vessels in your body. So down to the capillaries, arterioles, all those little vessels that are really important for delivering oxygen, nutrients, and different things, and then carrying the waste back through your system and getting rid of it, like carbon dioxide, metabolic waste. So if you have poor microvascular perfusion, you're essentially that's like all your lower extremities. We see this in diabetes a lot where neuropathy sets in, and it's really those vessels start getting very rigid, decrepit and just not functioning. And so that's where you'll start developing neuropathy, pains at the lower limbs, loss of sensation. It can be very dangerous long term. And so we want to do whatever we can to improve that vascular perfusion. And then mitochondria function. So with nitric oxide and you boost mitochondria, that's where you can get the energy levels of the cell really amped up, and we're working a lot more function, get blood flow and get movement more. So, some of the basic things that you probably all heard: diet, exercise. Now, diet is a debatable topic as far as what that diet looks like, but really being smart with your diet, getting real whole foods, reducing processed food, junk, sugars, those refined sugars are just deadly long term. And so that's kind of the initial kind of bottom, let's say like the baseline nutrition. And obviously you can work with our health integrators or a specialist on the nutrition side to really get that dialed in. I'm not here to talk about nutrition, but the other inputs that can be really impactful, stem cells, regenerative medicine, getting the right testing. So, like what I'm assuming, most of these names on here look very familiar. Dr. Ray, glad you're on here. But if you look at it from a functional standpoint, getting really comprehensive blood labs, looking at how each organ in the body's functioning from a functional standpoint, as opposed to just looking at it from a disease pattern, and then really, dialing in what that protocol looks like from the right peptides, the right nutrition, diet, lifestyle, all those different things. So those are some really impactful, important ways that you can, kind of improve those. And then from there, so let's talk a little bit about the functional medicine workout or that testing. And I know a lot of you watching this live have probably seen this, but getting really good functional testing. So here's an example of a test here if you're watching the screen. So getting an advanced cholesterol panel, looking at LDL, your small LDL. One of the most impactful ones, apolipoprotein A and lipoprotein B. those can or apo lipoprotein those can be super like they can help identify where there could be some issues. Those smaller particles that are just latching on, they can really help identify those in a really big way and impactful way. And so we want to keep those important. Oh, had someone asked a great question. Is nicotine okay, as in patches or tablets? I've never smoked. Going back to that. So there's some great new research on nicotine. I think I wouldn't necessarily put it in like my this is a healthy stack, but having a little bit of nicotine, it's been shown to be neuroprotective, great for the brain. Small, very small amounts, and nicotine is very habit forming. So you just want to be smart and careful with it, with how much you're consuming. What I have seen on a lot of people's labs is nicotine, high nicotine use, even the patches, the tablets, the pouches, those will typically increase that apolipo B or the ApoB in your cholesterol panel or your cardio panel. And that does signal some increased cardiac risk. And so, yeah, that's where I'd say like, very moderate because it is very neuroprotective, but too much or very super consistent use can lead to some other, inflammatory things. But yeah, there's it's really new findings what we're seeing with nicotine. So I just say my advice there is tread lightly. I'm not going to recommend one way or the other though. I'll let Reagan get really a lot more detailed in there. I know he's done some things. There's some protocols with it that can be really impactful. So, all right. So, and then the other things on the testing side, so you can see some of that advanced cardio panel, and then looking at fasting insulin and really dialing in, is there some insulin resistance? So you can really look at the HOMA to IR, which is going to give you an early sign of insulin resistance. The other one is a CIMT, or the carotid intermediate thickness scan. That's an ultrasound. And that is gives you a really good idea of how thick your arterial walls and specifically in your carotid artery, but it gives you an idea of what's going on everywhere else. The thickness score, we do that here in the office. That's very impactful test results that you can actually see kind of where you line up as far as a biological age on your carotid artery scans as well, which can be really insightful and impactful. So looking at those kind of functional tests, and then from a regenerative medicine standpoint, the goal would be to re-endothelianize and restore nitric oxide and bioavailability elasticity in those in your vascular system or endothelial system. And so some tools on how you can do that is umbilical cord derived tissue. We've seen that be extremely impactful in kind of overall health, heart health, and vascular systems. Seen some great things there, so that's something to consider. And then also, shear stress training. So getting some hot cold shock proteins. That's really going to help constrict and dilate your your vascular system. And so that hot and cold therapy, hot sauna, cold plunge, hyperbarics, all those different things, it really can be throughout some regular use. You can get some big improvement there. There's a study referenced in here in 2004. Human umbilical cord endothelial progenitor cells accelerated re-endothelialization in injured arteries in a mouse model. Conclusion: cord derived EPCs, or that endothelial progenitor cell support, can repair endothelium and improve function. So some really fascinating findings on some of the stuff in the stem cell world or in this umbilical cord tissue where, yeah, seeing that it can improve those things, and at least in animal models. So if you guys got mice, I'm sure they're super healthy after listening to all the different studies that we talk about with mice. And we're just going to have healthy mice running around like crazy. Can't wait. um, so, and let's talk a little bit about the effects of exercise. So exercise training, there's some training that you can use to increase endothelial shear stress, sorry. So that's just how it can endure stress. So there's just any stimulus caused by blood flow against the inner lining of the blood vessel. So that's really, increasing blood flow and circulation. That can be a really good mechanism where, exercise improves that functioning. So hand grip strength, that's one of the first things that we'll look at as far as heart health and overall body strength as well. If you got a good grip strength, your blood pressure's typically it helps with blood pressure. I'm not going to say any. I've seen plenty of guys with great grip strength that their blood pressure may be off. So I'm not saying it's a given, but it has been shown if your grip strength's really good, helps with obviously blood flow, circulation, and your blood pressure. But that's a great place to start. If you notice, we use a dichometer, and it is you can measure your grip strength. You can grab those. They're pretty low cost, but you just measure your grip strength. Track it every day. It's a great indicator of heart health, as well as your muscle health. And those are two very critical organs in the body. So that can, and then just overall exercise that leads to, from endurance training. I wouldn't necessarily say like lifting weights, resistance training isn't going to be as impactful on heart health, but it definitely is going to move circulation and blood flow. But you definitely got to get heart rate up a little bit higher than a lot of that resistance training, like HIIT workouts, sprints, great full body workout there as well. All right. Um, and so another important thing, just tapping into nitric oxide a little bit more. So nitric oxide, just so you guys can understand this, it opens your vessels, improves your glucose delivery system, and calms that vascular inflammation. And so it really helps with kind of dilating those cells. And so you can see in this diagram how nitric oxide just helps with kind of improving the overall mass and volume of the cell there, or not the cell, the vessel. Sorry. Some ways to boost your nitric oxide. Aerobic intervals, so some really good like HIIT workout, some interval workout, beet nitrates, sauna, cold plunge, so that hot cold contrast, sleep. Wow, who would have thought? Yeah, getting good sleep will improve your nitric oxide. So make sure, yeah, let's make sure you're sleeping well. And then even your oral microbiome care. Some misnomers or misunderstandings. The antiseptic mouthwash that definitely want to avoid using that too intensely. There's or a lot because there's some really good bacteria in the mouth as well as some bad bacteria. You want to make sure you're cleaning and you got great oral hygiene, but you get some of those alcohol mouthwashes in it. Yeah, you can get rid of the good as well. Some other peptides to consider with the metabolic control and vascular repair. So especially if you're dealing with glucose issues or high blood sugar, uh, insulin resistance, diabetes, like type 2 diabetes, all these things. So your GLP-1 agonists, really, they significantly have been shown to improve glycemia, your blood sugars, your weight, cardiovascular outcomes, and high risk type 2 to diabetes. It's been really improved. So those, be very strategic and careful. We typically don't like there's some, ways that you can overuse them and create some uncomfortable side effects. But if you're doing them in the proper dosing and working with the team on utilizing those appropriately, they can be game changers. They've changed so many people's lives. It's awesome. Another one is tesofensine. This one, it's great for brain. It is very, you want to take this one in the morning. It's actually originally was studied for as a appetite suppressant and medication, like a weight loss medication. But what we've seen is its molecule very nootropic effect with it. We would say like if someone's regularly taking Adderall, maybe try to switch it out for tesofensine and see how that works for you. Obviously under the care of a physician. And then other one, when it comes to vascular repair, tissue repair, thymosin beta 4 and BPC 157, great at just helping with tissue repair. Thymosin beta 4 is great for cardio health. And then if you can, yeah, and I really like this one. So an optional stack of the week to just to test it out. So if you're already taking some of these things or you want to try this out, but this is really a nitric oxide booster, heart health booster, as well as a glucose regulator. So GLP-1, so like a tirzepatide, semaglutide, very, very low, and then you titrate up. So if you've never taken those, definitely consult with your main provider before you make any decisions on that. But the other one, BPC 157, beet nitrate, and some berberine. What that's going to do, the intent there is it's going to help curb your appetite. It's going to help really improve that insulin sensitivity. So when you have sugars, your cells can soak that up and utilize it, get it out of the system rather than holding it in the blood in the circulation system that just wreaks havoc. And so if you get that improved insulin sensitivity, it's going to support your endothelial healing. So your vessels, your vascular system, and lift up and increase your nitric oxide. Some lifestyle stacks you can add in there 2 to 3 times a week, 8 to 12 minute exercise or interval training. So do a HIIT, a workout, If you're not familiar with what a HIIT workout, high intensity interval training, and so one of my favorites, if I don't have any weights or I'm not at a gym or anything, you could do you do 10 seconds or 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And then you do that for a minute straight. So you do 4 sets of 20 seconds and 10-second rest. Or sorry, 4 minutes. I think I just said 1 minute, but you do four, 4 to 8 sets. And then from there, you can switch up the exercise or you can switch up every 10 seconds. But I like doing push-ups, air squats, sit-ups, whatever muscle group I can kind of work on. Those workouts can be really intense, get the heart rate up. Sprinting is another one that you can do intervals. Just do 20, 30-yard sprints. I know if you're watching this and you're like, I haven't sprinted a day, in the last, multiple years, that's where let's work our way up. But get the heart rate up. That's the whole point. Um, and then a daily walk after meals, that can be, if you're not doing that now, that is such a good challenge. It's such a great way to help your body just digest and utilize its food and nutrition really effectively. Because most people, traditionally, people typically eat dinner kind of late. They lay around, maybe watch TV, and go to bed. It's not a great way if you're really stagnant right after eating. You're not able to digest and utilize that energy and food, the food for energy as effectively. And so it's a really good habit to get into. It's just take a walk and then do a sauna twice a week. Maybe add in a cold plunge. That's a fun little stack for you for this week's challenge. So yeah, let me know if you like that and what your favorite was. The lab marker of the week is the ApoB, and the ApoB ApoA ratio. So why these are important, it counts the actual number of bad cholesterol particles that clog the arteries, and it can predict heart problems more reliably than just your LDL cholesterol. Because LDL, that's your low density lipoprotein cholesterol level. Your the VLDL is very low density. LP stands for lipoprotein. But it's just a way to measure cholesterol. And the cholesterol carrying particles in your blood. And so the more dense or the smaller amounts, specifically the apo lipoprotein A and lipo B, they're like these extra small particles. And so when those get elevated over normal levels, that's where we see significant increase in cardiovascular risk. And so the ratios can be really, really important and give us a lot of helpful data. And so you want to be able to kind of check those levels. So if you're not currently, if you haven't checked those for a while, I would definitely recommend let's check those out. So it's not in a standard cholesterol panel. If you go to your doctor and say, hey, will you check all my cholesterol levels? Typically you'll get kind of your total cholesterol, your HDL, your LDL, and maybe like your triglycerides. That's very common to see that too. But ask them or come to us and we'll make sure you have the ApoB and A. You can really dial things in, and then from Some other habits to kind of work on that will raise your nitric oxide and insulin sensitivity. We talked about some intervals. So getting into that zone 4 post-meal walk, then hot cold. So get some hormesis going, some hot exposure, cold exposure, 2 to 4 times a week. That's really going to help with that endothelial dynamics and really just stave off potential risk factors there. All right, so we've been, we're kind of stacking it all together for a full 12-week cardiometabolic flow. And so this week we're going over some of the baseline labs, fasting insulin, and maybe if possible, if you were tracking your blood pressure, that can be an option to kind of track your blood pressure, get an idea of what your carotid artery, if you haven't got a CIMT or a carotid artery scan, recommend getting that, but kind of get your baseline the next, about 10, 11 weeks. We're going to be jumping into a lot of different ways to increase your nitric oxide, improve your cardiovascular health, and stave off the wicked witch of aging your cardiovascular system. So hopefully you guys learned some cool stuff tonight. You got some actions, and you have an amazing, amazing day, amazing week. And we will see you next time here on the Ageless Future podcast. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.